Good evening, wool gatherers, and welcome to a special edition of Wanderings and Wool Gathering. Look, it's special. The boys are on the screen right now. We don't even have to pull them in. It's that special. And why is it special, you may be asking? It's because for the next 10 days, that would be 10 weekdays, not counting the weekends, we're going to be picking albums one at a time that influenced our musical taste through the years. As we grew up, through our formative years, and then into our adulthood. These are albums that opened our eyes to a new brand of music, maybe to a new musician. They're not necessarily our favorite albums, but they could be. We'll find out. We're going to reveal our choices one per day. So please come back each day and find out to whom you should be listening. And I like listening to these boys. Gentlemen, are you ready for our extravaganza?
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
I think doing this probably caused some undue stress for T-Bags.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There was no wiggle room to cheat, so that made it even tougher.
Well, we did throw in on the last episode, we are going to throw our honorable mentions in because I know we probably each could have 20 at least, but I think we'll probably do 5 or so that could have easily been on our list that were very influential. So that's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Good deal.
All right. So this idea actually came to me. I'll give a quick shout out to Nick Flynn on Facebook. And they were doing 20, which is way easier than 10. And they were posting one per day onto Facebook. So that's where I got the idea. But 20 that's a lot for us. So we're going to keep it to 10. We're professional. We can narrow it down.
Yes, sir.
Well, we did. I don't know if we can, but we did.
Yeah, and we don't have a lot of crossover because I put these together, so I've seen every choice. And surprisingly, as much as we are also very similar in what we listen to, there's not a lot of crossover, which is really cool.
It's awesome.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Mundy, you are up first. Are you ready?
Sure. Why not?
Boom.
Okay, so Billy Joel, Glass Houses. This album came out in 1980. I would have been, I think, well, when it came out, I was probably 3 years old because I think it was early 1980. This is the first album that I remember that was not a kids album because I had tons of like kids, like little 45s and 8 tracks, and I had my own stuff, Sesame Street, that kind of stuff, you know. But like actual music that other people would play that I just absolutely loved. This there's a song on this album called Still Rock and Roll to Me.
Yes.
And that is, we went to Salem, Illinois to visit some of my dad's family. Like I said, I'm like 3 years old, and I had a couple of cousins down there that would play that song nonstop because they thought it was hilarious that I loved it so much. Like my little 3-year-old body would just, I couldn't control myself. I just danced into it all the time, and I just loved it so much. And they thought that was hilarious, so they just played it over and over and over. And beyond that, as I kept growing up, you know, for the next few years, my dad always had cassette tapes in the car, you know. I think everybody did at that time, that, you know, and this was always one. I will never forget that album cover. It is seared into my brain that, like, you know, you're looking at this glass house with you're seeing the back of Billy Joel as he's like got a rock getting ready to throw it at this glass house. And like, I mean, I'll never forget that. And this is just a really great album, and it's one of the first things I remember really loving myself. And, you know, there's the connection with my dad, and like so much of his music is you know, just what I grew up with and what I still listen to today. And he passed on his love of music to me, and this was the first one that I can actually remember.
Cool. Yeah, we had that at our house too. So,
are you gonna demonstrate any of the dance moves from?
That's what I was waiting for.
I did. Didn't you guys see?
Well,
Oh
no,
yes,
all
right. Okay.
It was a little.
Do you like the white guy shuffle?
Yeah,
owning
it better than I did. Yeah.
Oh Lord, yeah, that was such a great record. Billy Joel was just all through my childhood was great. Everybody loved him.
Love him.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, now mine is going to take a huge swerve, and it's not a band, but a soundtrack. So I'm going with Star Wars because I think this is probably the property that has had the most impact on my life. I grew up with it, saw it in the theater when I was 6, had all the toys and all of that. But it's the music, I think, with John Williams and all of the Star Wars movies, and then leading into like Raiders of the Lost Ark and all the Indiana Jones. And so that music, apart from being wonderful soundtracks, it probably got me into classical music, and I really have an appreciation for that today. And I would say it goes all the way back to Star Wars and John Williams. Of course, he's my favorite, but that's because it's attached to Star Wars. But I love Wagner and Bach and Beethoven, And if classical comes on, I don't turn it off because it's wonderful. And I would say that had to be from Star Wars. And it could just be in me. I don't know. But, the good old Star Wars back in the day before Kathleen Kennedy ruined it. No, I'm just kidding. I still love Star Wars. It's ingrained in me. I will watch everything until I die. So
yeah.
Did you say you owned the soundtrack, or you just liked the soundtrack? Like,
I have. Yeah, I've got multiple soundtracks, and I've got tape recording.
No. I mean, back in the day, did you like it because you heard it in the movie itself, or did you actually own the soundtrack back then too?
I had a record and I had the disco version, and I still have it, of Miko, which he redid this in a funky disco vein, and I have that too. So, but I think back then it wasn't even necessarily that it was classical music or any of that. It's just that feeling. When you hear the song, you know what part of the movie it is, and each song is connected to a character, and so that's such a beautiful thing. So that's where that is. It was later on down the road that the classical part really hit.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and this, I mean, it's so now. I mean, even at the time, I feel like, the first Star Wars, I was like maybe a year old, so you're older, but I can't imagine seeing that in the theater for the first time, and that long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and then the crawl starts, and boom, that overture kicks in, and now it's like it's so iconic. You can't. Even if you're not a fan of those movies, you know what that is. And John Williams.
Go ahead. Sorry. I was just going to say when you mentioned that and the crawl and all that, but think about what every other movie looked like at the time, and you're sitting in the theater, and then the Tantive 4 goes by, and the Death Star or the Death Star, it goes right over your head. Like, that was incredible. We had never seen anything like that before.
Yeah.
So.
And cool. John Williams, I mean, good Lord, man, it's everything. He touched so many amazing properties, and he's responsible for so much amazing movie scores, and just truly, truly, truly iconic.
Yep, he's a treasure
for sure.
Yep. All right, well, that's all I have for that. I could go on forever, but nobody wants to hear more about Star Wars right now.
Well,
what we really want to hear is from T-Bags and his first choice.
Yeah, so since we were going chronologically as far as how we submitted these to you, obviously this came out in 1977, which would make me 4 years old, and I wasn't listening to them at the time. But this was one of those in my skater days, getting introduced to punk, and kind of a transitional time in my life anyway, going into public school and things like that. Just a lot of things were changing, and my musical tastes were changing, and it was just so gritty and different from everything. It kind of made you feel like part of the culture. Back in those days, you'd skate around and try to find somebody who had a ramp, and somebody have a boom box, and get introduced to things like Sex Pistols and Dead Kennedys and Ramones and all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
But it was just, I just remember it blowing my mind in the terms of like, one, it was at a rebellious time in my life too. So what better than, the Sex Pistols to have that? But it was, like I said, it was so gritty. So it was something that I had never heard in that form before. And then, we grew up in those days where you could only learn about bands if there was an article, in the next magazine or whatever that came out. But
or word of mouth
through some stuff. What's that?
Word of mouth.
Yes. Yeah. And how many word of mouth stories are attached to like Sid and Nancy's life, And so there was a culture within the skate community, and then there was just the punk culture, and then down below that was those types of stories that was going on. So it was, way different than like a surfaced pop record, that you picked up from back in the day. So, but I just remember it always felt like cool to be able to pop that in and skate, and you felt like you were kind of bucking society at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My next one kind of connects to this a little bit.
Oh, cool. Sex Pistols is one of those bands, man, that they're so incredibly influential, but I can't stand them. I can't handle them.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because that tape would like fall to the wayside as I found more punk bands,
Yeah.
So I might like somebody better as a stepping stone.
Sure. That's your on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I haven't listened to it for a long time. I should actually go back and listen to it. I might hate it today. Who knows?
They weren't the best musicians in the world. And a lot of the people on here that we have listed are wonderful musicians. So
yeah, I mean, they were barely musicians. And then it's just one of those things too, where as I got older and I just saw more and more of John Lydon, I'm like, man, I just really don't like that guy.
Yeah, right. I agree. Yeah.
But they were a movement as much as anything, I think.
Oh yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, those were fun first choices, and I guess we should have prefaced this at the beginning that we are going chronologically, not when we found them, but chronologically from when they actually came out from day one. So that's the order, and you're just going to have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Well, that's easier for us. Can you imagine trying to put these in order of influence? I mean, that would have been awful.
I mean, that's how I
could have done it.
Yeah.
It would have been very difficult for me. So I'm glad we're doing it this way. Took that element out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a standard way to do it. That's fine.
Awesome.
We can all align. So, yeah.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. That is part one, first of 10 songs that have influenced each of us. And we will be back tomorrow with song number 2. That's 3 songs, number 2.
Well,
3 song number 2
albums, right?
Or albums, sorry.
Yes.
Next time we're doing songs.
Thank God.
Only 10. It's a piece of cake. Tony quits right now.
I was going to say, Tony might skip that one.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, we will see you all tomorrow. Until then, bye now.